The off-season is not disappointing as we are seeing endless rumors around who's going where, big names being dropped, some of them retiring, and even mergers. But in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 big transfers that I really am excited for. First one has to be Krimz joining back up with Clayster over at New York Subliners in a roster that is rumored to be Clayster, Krimz, Hydra, and Neptune. There's a lot of reasons why I really love this roster, but the first is going to be that Krimz and Clay duo. Together, they've played in 17 tournaments, appeared in 13 finals, and won 11 with an average placing of 1.82. Absolutely ridiculous, and clearly shows that these two go very well together and should definitely have played together more over their career. In fact, the only chance that they've played together up until this date, they won under the Dallas Empire in Modern Warfare just a year ago, and you can see why they work so well as well. Throughout that year, they started slow, they got better as the year went on, figuring out where they best slot into the role and molding the team around them. A very intelligent pairing, a very fundamental pairing that go together like yin and yang. And even if we just want to talk about them as individuals, Clayster, I'm going to call it, was the best AR in the opening half of the Cold War season. He was unstoppable. Absolutely phenomenal as an individual and really did some great things on the map. And even though it fell off towards the back end of the year with the mental health issues and the break and all that stuff, and all the other subliner issues that were going on, he still finished the year as the second highest kill per 10 minute and damage per 10 minute AR in Cold War, with only Kenny being a better AR in those figures, just to show the kind of impact he was having on the map. The KDs might not be pretty, but he was putting up some serious figures that was allowing his team to do a lot of work. Not to be outdone, by the way, Krimz finished the Cold War year as the highest main AR when it comes to first bloods in S&D, with Clayster not far behind, which tells me that you've got an S&D duo here on the main ARs that are not just looking to send some SMGs forward to relieve pressure. They're happy to get involved in the thick of it, and that could be very important for opening up the map. You've got multiple layers, multiple routes and options and strategies in order to do that. And whilst both players did have less than positive KDs over the year in the respawns, you've got to think, both sides that they were on would go on to win things without outslaying the opponent. In fact, Krimz's Dallas Empire were pretty much famed for it by the end of the year. They would be outslayed by double-digit figures and still go on to win. And subliners were exactly the same, showing that you've got a ridiculously good pair here that are very fundamental, very solid on communication, leadership, and so on, and things that I think are going to mesh very well with that pairing of Hydra and Neptune. Second big transfer is going to be the potential LA Thieves roster. I want to see this 100 Thieves owned roster become a part of the top end conversation. I think it'd be great for Call of Duty. I think it'd be great for all of us who want to watch the 100 Thieves slug it out with maybe an Envy OpTic side, Atlanta FaZe, and so on and so forward. We want those rivalries to exist again. And a lineup of Octane, Drazah, Envoy, and then Kenny is really a lineup that could do some damage. As previously mentioned, Kenny finished the year as the AR with the highest kills per 10 minute and damage per 10 minute in Hardpoint, as well as a bunch of other good statistics around his respawn performances in particular. You throw a man in like Octane to be the person who takes the power positions and so on as Kenny goes on a roaming rampage as he likes to do on that AR, and that's a really good duo. Now, my first question around that duo initially was going to be around objective play. Will they have enough when it comes to that? Because whilst both players like to slay out, they're not necessarily famed for being the glue of a team, right? The dirty work. But then you look at that sub duo of Envoy and Drazah. You've got Drazah, who I think is going to be a future star in this game. Really great, good at everything really, and happy to fill in where the team needs him to be. And Envoy, who is going to be on a revenge tour, let's face it. I think here you're going to have plenty of objective contributions. Envoy was the highest sub when it came to hill time last year. And then the question again then is, do they mesh? Does Envoy mesh with Drazah? He couldn't really with Scump. And I counter that by saying, does he really need to? This roster, if it comes out this way, has a lot of options. Drazah can play both SMG and AR, a true flex in any sense, and so can Kenny. So they have multiple options here to fill in the gaps. If there's a map or a mode that they don't necessarily like because it doesn't work out for them, they can flip things around. They can move Drazah onto an AR, Kenny to SMG, or have 3 SMGs or 3 ARs at all times, and really truly try and then let Envoy do his thing on the map, which is very good if you work it into your system. So I think that here they have a great opportunity to develop a very strong, challenging side. And just to finish that as well, I have a feeling that this side are going to be very, very strong in S&D. All 4 of these players last year picked up positive KDs in S&D, and all 4 have double-digit first blood contributions for their sides. And my final transfer that I'm very, very excited about, as rumored so far, is going to be that OpTic Dallas merger, but only the sub-duo portion of it. The AR duo, I have some reservations, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit concerned there, but that sub-duo screams top-level challenger to me, one of the few duos that I can really see putting up a fight against the Tiny Terrors. Straight up, I think Cold War was one of Scump's best games. I really do. I just think that the difficulty led in being on the wavelength of Envoy. And that can be difficult consistently because he is such a unique player. Definitely benefited more from 5v5 than 4v4 and all the chaos that went on there. But I do think that Scump is still at the top. He can still perform at a very high level for sure. And Shotzzy, let's face it, has been one of the shining bright lights of the past 2 years, winning MVP back in Modern Warfare and being Dallas Empire's shining light last year. So I do still think that he is right up there as well. The thing for me comes down to if they can mesh. And I really do think that there is a lot of positives to take from the statistics here. Yes, statistics aren't everything. We're going to have to wait and see how they play together. They have nearly identical engagement rates in the hard point, identical kill rates in controls. Their first blood in the S&Ds are complementary of each other, whereas Scump gets a high KD, but not necessarily the highest first blood percentage. Shotzzy still rocking positive and getting those first bloods in as well. Also, both players were phenomenal when it came to champs and other big performances that they needed to put up throughout the season. And I do think that there's something to be said here for the fact that Scump was really, really good in S&D last year. One of the best overall. And then Shotzzy was phenomenal in control. And I think that the one big problem in this side is going to be winning maps 2, 3, and 5. Because the 1 and 4, the hard points, you could guarantee that they're going to win at least 50-60% of those. So it comes to that 2, 3, and 5. And if you've got Shotzzy who loves control, Scump who goes on to love the S&D, I do think that there's something here for this side that just rounds out nicely, gives them a little bit of an edge to continuously compete. Again, I do still have reservations about them challenging at the very top because of that AR duo, but this SMG duo could carry them a long, long way, and maybe long enough and far enough the AR duos can get onto the same wavelength. Anyway, that's everything from me. Let me know what you think. Which roster moves are interesting you the most? Is it going to be LAG and that roster they're pulling together? Or maybe a couple that I haven't thrown out into the hat here? Whatever it is, do let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.